We got Jeff Cochran, Shapiro Negotiations Institute, also known as SNI. He's going to be talking to us about the principles of effective negotiations. And he's going to be joined in this session by Tomissa Smittendorf from Kellogg Company and Jen Keller from Columbia Sportswear. And they're really looking for some interaction in this session, everybody in the audience. So please type in your questions, comments, and responses to any questions there in the chat. Jeff serves as SNI's partner and master facilitator, and he's coached negotiation teams within organizations, and his audience sizes range from 5 executives around a boardroom table to 1,000 people in an auditorium. So he'll be right at home here as usual. And in addition to his role as an educator and as you'll see, an entertainer, Jeff's also played a significant role in selling and designing negotiation training programs for SNI. He works closely with Anthony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, and he's an exclusive membership-only group personally coached by Tony Robbins. So we're lucky to have him here today. So everybody, please join me in welcoming Jeff Cochran. Jeff, virtual floor is yours.
All right, fantastic. I just want to check first to make sure the mic is working. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great, Jeff.
Beautifully, beautiful. Once again, thank you very much. As was said, my name is Jeff Cochran. I'm a partner here with Shapiro Negotiations. I've been fortunate enough over the last 20 years to travel the world, talk about negotiations in 26 different countries, 6 different continents, all over. And one thing always kind of rings true. When people talk about negotiations, they get just a little bit nervous, because negotiation is one of those skills is either you're good at it or you're not, and I'm very fortunate to talk about this skill because, we all know those guys who were just born to be good negotiators. Those guys who you just see them, they just they have an aura, they just look like they'd be good. They're walking down the street and you're thinking to yourself, wow, there goes a guy who got a really good deal. I mean, it jumps out at you. Well, I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this skill because I'm not one of those guys. Yeah, in fact, I'm the opposite. People see me walking down the street and they think to themselves, wow, that poor man just got ripped off. Yeah, but it's that perspective that makes me a pretty good at talking about the topic, because this is a skill I was not born with. This is not something that you just, automatically know. I picked up my skills through a systematic approach. And I'm going to just give you a tidbit of what we're talking about today, because I know out in the audience today, we have a lot of folks from L&D. We have a lot of folks who are dealing with vendors on a regular basis. We have folks who are dealing internally with their internal partners. And when you think about negotiations, a lot of times we immediately think of the budget. Do we internally negotiate for more budget? But look, there's so much more to the negotiation than that. It's buy-in, from the thought leaders, from the managers. It's allowing them allowing their people to come to the negotiation and expend their time. It's open-mindedness. It's going in, it's working with and finding the right fit. So let me tell you what we have on store for today. Today, we're going to just talk a little bit about negotiations. Obviously, we're going to run a quick little exercise where I have my 2 guests who are going to help me perform that. And then throughout, I'm going to ask you to chat, to take notes, write things down, because as we go through negotiating, 20, 50, 75. What are those numbers? Well, 20%. That's what your retention level is going to be. And that's just assuming for a moment, hypothetically, that I'm fantastic. I mean, let's just say I'm so good that you're hanging on every word, but you don't write anything down. You don't type anything in the chat. 20%. Well, that's pretty good. But obviously, we think we can do just a tad better. So we bump it up to 50%. it's not just listening, but to hit the 50% mark, that's where we start talking about a little bit of participation. Entering in your information into the chat when it's time to enter information into the chat. Voting for the right person when it's time to do a little bit of voting. All right. But it's also participating in the exercise and constantly thinking, WWID. What would I do? All right. So, and then finally, the next one, 75. Look, 75, that's where you're talking Bobby Swartout skills. And that's where you're trying to hit 75. How do you do that? By personalizing. Thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to use the skills that I'm talking about immediately? How am I going to be using? That's where you hit 75, maybe even 80%. So let's go from there. Look, I've got a quick thing that I always like to start off with. A quote by John Kennedy, the famous American president. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Well, that's kind of an odd thing to talk about when you talk about negotiations. Why would there be any fear in a negotiation? Well, that's the question I have for you. So let me have this. If you could just enter into the chat, I believe I can see that. And just vote for one of those. Which causes the most fear in your negotiations? Which one? How about this? Fear of rejection, fear of fracturing the relationship, fear of losing, fear of winning, or fear sometimes of the unknown. What causes you the most fear in the negotiation? I've got Tatiana says fear of loss. Yeah, I don't like to lose. Any others? Yeah. Fear of rejection. Yeah, Hannah. You've had a bad experience, haven't you? Yeah. What else do we see? Fear of fracturing the relationship. Oh, we're just about touching all the bases here. Yeah, it's the relationship, said Scott. Scott S., the relationship. Alice, the fracturing. Fear of the unknown. We're getting a little bit of everything. I'll tell you, when we do this on a regular basis, we have all of these that pop up. Look, sometimes, fear of losing. You ever put in a position where you've been given an assignment, but you haven't maybe been given enough budget? This is what we need you to do. And, well, what's my budget on that? Oh, we don't have any extra. Marissa says, fear of the pressure. I think that's a great one. We feel a lot of pressure. We feel a lot of responsibility when we negotiate. Sometimes it's not us who needs a good deal, but it's our boss behind us who tells us, better get a good deal. You notice how everyone who advises you is always in their own right an expert negotiator? Well, you know what I would have said. Yeah, I know what you might have said. Kenneth, I'm fearful of what he might say because he's got fear of losing his composure. Yeah, he might go all medieval on you. We don't know. Lose the composure. We'll see. Fear of leaving money on the table. I love that one. That's a great one. How about this one? Fear of fracturing the relationship. Well, okay, if you're dealing with a vendor and maybe you're making a purchase maybe once every 10 years, well, you know what? I don't have a lot of fear about the relationship. But how about the people with whom you deal on a regular basis? The internal folks, where you have to deal with the same people once a year, twice a year, 5 times a year, or perhaps work shoulder to shoulder in implementing a program. Well, how about those? You don't want to fracture the relationship there. So are there any tools? How about this one? Sometimes it comes up, fear of winning. Anybody ever have a fear of winning? Yeah, I think sometimes we do. You always hear about winner's remorse. Maybe you're one of those people who goes in and you're a barracuda. You go in and you get the budget you need. You just wrangle them down and get what you need. And then all of a sudden you're looking at it going, boy, you know what? I hope I didn't overstate our capabilities. Yeah. You know what? I got all the budget. Now I have to deliver. Yeah. A little bit of fear of winning. Well, anyhow, all of these fears, we followed up with the Madame Curie quote. Nothing in life is to be feared. It's only to be understood. And the more we understand some of the nuts and bolts, the more effective we will be in the negotiation. All right, well, enough of that. You may have guessed, I love my job. But if I didn't love my job, there'd be only one other job out there for me, and that would be game show host. Yeah, I'm angling for it. And during the COVID period on Zoom, I've come up with this fantastic game show that I'd like you to participate in now. It's called the Dollar Bill Game. And I have gone out and I have hand selected a couple of contestants for the Dollar Bill Game. So please allow me to introduce them. Our first contestant, she comes to us all the way from Portland, Oregon. She's an executive with Columbia Outdoor Sportswear. Please welcome Jen Keller. Woo-hoo-hoo! Not everybody can clap, so I will. Our second contestant, she hails all the way from Battle Creek, Michigan. She works for the Kellogg company because you know why? They're great. So I'd like to welcome Tomissa Smittendorf to the Dollar Bill Game. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! All right. Now, let me tell you what the Dollar Bill Game entails. You two ladies are going to negotiate with each other for a division of 10 $1 bills. That's right. You're going to be negotiating for the real stuff. I have it right here. I'm going to Venmo you whatever you decide is your split as soon as the program is over. 10 $1 bills. That's a lot. And you're going to be negotiating with each other. But I'm kind of curious if you could help, if you could, let's see, if you could go in and let's see. I want to stop the screen share so that you can see our two contestants. Stop screen share. Bobby, any chance you could help with that? How would I go
They're
about
good.
stop?
We can see them now. We can see them now, Jeff. They're good.
Oh, you can see them now? Perfect. All right. This is getting better all the time. And we still have 10 $1 bills. All right. So the two of you are going to negotiate that. I'm curious if you can enter into the chat. I know a lot of you don't know these ladies, but I mean, maybe you can just size them up a little bit. Who do you think in a head-to-head negotiation, who looks like they might walk away with more money? All right. You don't have to write the whole name. Is it Tomissa Smittendorf or is it Jen Keller? You can just enter an initial into the chat. Who's going to walk away with more? I think it's going to be Jen. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's based on, but it's good to know. Oh, Jen Keller. All right, great. Oh, it's going to be Tomissa. All right. Well, we're seeing both sides. A lot of votes. Money's on Jen, TS. This is getting competitive. Well, we are soon going to find out because both of you individuals, you are off mute and you're ready to negotiate for these 10 $1 bills with each other. Now, let me give you a couple of rules with the negotiation. Rule number 1. You may not split the money 5 and 5. That would just be a little bit too easy. Rule number 2, you may not make any side deals. You may not say, hey, you know what? I'll take 8, you take 2, but the next time I'm in Battle Creek, I'll buy you a bowl of cereal. No, none of that. All right? No side deals. And then finally, the third rule is you must split the money in the next 60 seconds or I end up keeping it all. So, ready? Let's see who is the better negotiator. You may begin. Go ahead, ladies.
Jen, if you take $4, I'll take 6. How about if I take 6 and you take 4?
Well, since we can't do a 5 and 5 split, that went out the window. What would it take for me to get $6 and you get 4?
Well, I think it would help to understand if you really truly needed it, because my team, I only have 4 individuals, including myself, to deliver global learning and leadership development. And so, having a little bit more would be helpful for us because we really don't have much of a budget with COVID and everything that's been going on.
Oh, Jen, you're pulling at my heartstrings. I'll tell you, Jen, I think that we could come up with something here. I think that we probably need to really dive into what you would do with that $6 with your team.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to hear the same from you, and then maybe we can decide from there. But for me, if I still have time to talk, I would definitely invest and get some support for my team, just additional coordinator support, administrative support. They're so strapped in kind of the everyday nitty gritty that they aren't able to do their best work at that more strategic project-based level. So it would really help our team to rise up another
Holy
notch
mackerel, look at the time. Oh my goodness. I could have listened to you all day, Jen, but unfortunately time has run out. Once again, I will keep all of the money. But thank you, ladies, for playing our game. And in fact, no one walks away from the dollar bill game empty-handed. I have for each of you a copy of our book, The Power of Nice. How to negotiate so that everybody wins, but especially you. So thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for being here. This was wonderful. You do not have to leave, but you can't stay here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
That was wonderful. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to ask the couple of general questions. So one question, thank you both. Let us know your address. We'll be happy to send this information along to you. Thanks a lot. I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen. Hopefully you can see that. And let me talk about the dollar bill game for a moment. I don't think Tomissa or Jen should be embarrassed at all that I end up keeping the money. I'll be honest with you, 95% of the time, I end up keeping the money. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I keep playing the game. But one of the things that I do want to talk about is what prevented them from getting a deal? What prevented them from getting a deal? You can enter it into the chat. What prevented them from getting a deal? Yeah, I agree. It was a great job by both individuals, and I appreciate it very much. What prevented them from getting a deal? You can put it in the chat. I'll tell you, one of the things that I see on a regular basis prevents folks from getting a deal. Win-lose very quickly becomes lose-lose. Yeah. Maria says they came in with a permission mindset. They didn't check the time. They had competing needs. Yeah, you know the problem? They both wanted to win. And it was interesting because they both wanted to win. Win-lose very quickly becomes lose-lose. Well, does that ever happen in real life? Yeah, a lot of times that does happen in real life. You know, how about this? When somebody comes to you and says, I want you to train, I want my people to have higher skill level, but I don't want to invest in training. What do you have? Well, you know what? There's really no solution for that. See, I knew you didn't have anything. Well, yeah, but you're not giving me any budget. And win-lose very quickly becomes lose-lose. How about this? Someone who wants to train your people, but they don't want to invest their time. So, you know, we can't make the training effective without management pull-through. And yet everybody thinks that training is something you do to individuals, not with them, so that they can learn. You know, I always remember the phrase, you know, teach me how to speak Spanish. Well, I can't teach you how to speak Spanish. You have to learn how to speak Spanish. Big difference. Teaching implies I'm just going to put it there in your brain. That's a lose-lose proposition. How about this one? Understand the alternatives. Who was the real enemy in this exercise? You had these two wonderful women up there. Who was the real enemy? Well, spoiler alert, it was me. Me and the time constraints. One of the best negotiations I ever had was two individuals who were very aware of their constraints. I said, listen, you must split the money and split the money right now. In the next 60 seconds, you may begin. They immediately turned to me and said, can we get some more time? What a great negotiation. Now, I didn't give it to them. But the bottom line is, with a little bit more time, they knew who they were negotiating with. They were negotiating with me because I was the man who made all the rules. How often do we negotiate? But it's not always with the right person. It's not with the person who set the budget. It's the person who inherited the budget. It's not the person who needs the buy-in. Sure, the learners all buy in. That's fantastic. But how about their management? Are we getting enough buy-in in management that we can do reinforcement and pull through later? So that becomes the challenge. Understand your alternatives and think in terms of win-win. How do you maximize your return? Now, I know that everybody out there knows the answers to Jeopardy in our living room. I'm sorry. Are you not seeing a slide with this, Ann? Let me see if I can reshare my screen. What do you got there? Can you see my screen, Bobby?
No, I can't see your screen. I think you have permissions to share too. I just checked with IT. And now it's coming up.
How about now?
Yeah, it was operator error, Jeff.
I'm sorry. I believe that 100%. So the dollar bill game, win-lose becomes lose-lose. Understand your alternatives and think in terms of win-win. How do you maximize your return? Look, in this exercise, sometimes just getting $4 is a win. People walk away empty-handed. How awful is that? Well, and some people said, you know what they should have done? They should have taken $4. They should have just said, I'll take 4, you take 6. In fact, that was the offer. Jen said, listen, I'll take 6, and Tomissa, you take 4. And Tomissa said, no, I'll take 6, you take 4. And neither one got any money. I got a question for you. How many of you out there, and just type it in the chat, how many of you out there would have taken 4? How many would have taken 4? I would have taken 4. Just, no. Michael, no, said no. How many people would have taken 4? Type it into the chat. Yes, I would have taken 4. Jen said I would now that I didn't get any. But Jen, you got a really good book. That's going to be great for you. You're going to like that. How many would have taken? Not right away. Okay, when would you have taken? With 1 minute left, would you have taken 4? What did $1 equal? I don't know. Why did the chicken cross the road? I'm not sure I understand. Yeah, look, a lot of folks would take 4. When we do this live, 80% of the audience will say, yes, I would take 4. Isn't that interesting? Well, if you're a person who's sitting there saying $4 is better than nothing, I agree with you. But is there an opportunity to do better? Heather says she'd look for other offers. Okay, great. What else? If 40% is my margin, I take it. Okay, that makes sense. Look, let me tell you a couple ways you could have split the money. Look, and I'm sure Jen and Tomissa would have come up with this if we'd have given them a little more time. And I'm sure a lot of you knew these answers in the audience. But the first one I'd like to talk about is, we negotiate better when we begin with the points of agreement. How about this agreement? Tomissa, you want at least 4? I want at least 4. You take 4, I'll take 4. and we'll leave $2 on the table. You take 4, I'll take 4. We'll give $2 to the host. How about that? Yeah. I'll take 4, you take 4. Why do you think that works? Well, it's points of agreement. Rather than argue over who gets what share, we start with things that we can agree to. Yeah, but that you take 4, I take 4. What do we do for the last $2? I mean, that's a tough one. What do you do for those last $2? Nobody wants to leave the money with Jeff. Yeah, it's a feeling of equity, Teresa. What do we do with those last $2? I don't know. Maybe we could play some type of child's game that would allow us to split the money fairly. Anybody have an answer? Give to charity. Come on, Ann. Nobody believes in charity. Yep, maybe we could do a rock, paper, scissors to figure out the last little bit. Hey, I'll tell you what, you take 4, I'll take 4, and I'll do rock, paper, scissors for the last. I love your thinking, Kenneth. Buy a lottery ticket. Employee appreciation. Love that too, as long as I'm the employee. Yeah. So why does that work? Well, you know what? You know what the flip of a coin or rock, paper, scissors does for us? Yeah. It takes the ego out. Was there any ego in this negotiation? Well, yeah, I have to tell you, these women were set up. Yeah. We got in touch with these women yesterday just to make sure all their audio, video worked. But the first question I asked them is, you're pretty competitive, aren't you? You like to win, don't you? We need winners in this exercise. And then I give them the big send up, all the way from Battle Creek, Michigan, coming to us from Portland, Oregon. And then I ask people to vote. Who do you think is going to walk away the winner? And even as people are typing in Jen or Tomissa, you can see them looking and saying, okay, 5 people think I'm not going to get it. Yeah, I'll show you. And you hold out and end up getting 0. Kind of interesting. We injected as much ego as you possibly can. Now, how about another one? Somebody here says, Ginger says, what about you take $4.99 and I take $5.01? No way. How about I get $5.01? Yeah. Well, okay, I'll take $4.99. You know what's interesting about that one? And I love it, Ginger. That's being very creative. I didn't say you couldn't break the dollars into smaller units. Yeah, $4.99 and $5.01. How about all of you out there who were thinking, I'd take 4. It's better than nothing. Well, it sure is better than nothing. But you know what? At $4.99 and you're a $4 person, you just increased your return by nearly 25%. That's a pretty good increase. And then finally, I had a guy one time, I brought him up here. I said, ready, split the money. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out $1. He slapped it on top. He said, now there's 11. I'll take 6. You take 5. Well, I got to tell you, I counted the money out and I gave it to him. I picked that particular individual because he did not look that bright. Yeah, but it was me who was looking stupid. Yeah, he came up with one of the best solutions I've ever seen. Increase the pie. Why fight over crumbs when you can increase the pie and make it better for both sides? All right, well, you look at these 4. And I mean, that's great, all of these. But how would you apply those? Well, look for points of agreement. Look, we both want effective training. We both believe that training improves morale and retention. We agree that people need to be trained. Take the ego out. Look, focus on the objective standard. What is the outcome that we want as a result of training? What behavior are we trying to alter? Can we use, take the ego out? Let's talk about what companies our size spend on training. Let's benchmark a little bit. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the market. How about this next one? Be creative, $4.99 and $5.01. Well, everybody right now says, look, I don't want to spend a lot of money on Zoom. Okay, well, how about a blended approach? We'll kick it off live, but then we'll go to Zoom. $4.99 and $5.01. We don't have to do all or nothing. And then finally increase the pie. Look, if I can show you that what we deliver increases ROI, would you be interested? Look, our overriding sense is the best way to get what you want is to help them get what they want. Well, how do you do that? With a process, the 3 Ps: prepare, probe, and propose. Would the outcome of the dollar bill game had been different? Would it have been different had they had the opportunity to prepare a little bit? I asked both women, please do not look up the dollar bill game. I want you to come in here fresh. How about the second one, probe? They were trying to. Could they have asked more questions? What are you going to do with the money? And then finally propose as a culmination of those first two. How do you achieve zero ego? It seems impossible at times. You're exactly right, Michael. Sometimes you have to appeal to their ego. You know, maybe if we've got one side with a very large ego, we appeal to that and say, can you help me? Can you help me understand? How can I become part of your winning team? How can I deliver what you need? I know we're right up against it, but I'd like, if you have any questions, we've already covered a little question at Q&A because Michael's had one there at the ready. I agree with whoever said Ginger A, best answer. In fact, Ginger, if you want to contact us, send us your address. I want to send you a book also. In fact, I feel like Oprah. You get a book. Tomissa gets a book. Jen, you get a book. But right now, I'm ready to take any cues you may have, and hopefully I might have an A.
You left yourself wide open on that one, Jeff. I'm going to just go right into the queue here. Yeah, can we have the $10 and the book? But anyway, the question, the question that we have is, how do you achieve zero ego?
Yeah. Well, again, you know, I don't think you can achieve zero ego. The best you can do is determine, okay, now how do we appeal to the biggest ego? You know, how do we appeal to and get their buy-in? Now, you achieve zero ego by providing precedence outside measures. In this case, we did rock, paper, scissors. Well, then, you know, that's not about me as a big ego. I'm a great rock, scissor, paper player. But it does give us an objective standard where we can, we can go from there and try and cool the ego down. As Michael says, it's the human element. Let's see. Let me see what we got here. Tatiana, I want a book. Can I have one? Yes. You know, a good place to ask would be Amazon. They sell them there. But we also teach a principle, Tatiana. Much is lost for the want of asking. So just because you were the first one who asked, if you send me your address, I will send you a book. Thank you.
Yeah, you're shopping for responses and questions, Jeff. You're not negotiating now. You're caving. Anyway, so here's the big question. Since we're kind of appealing to L&D and talent executives and things of that nature, do these principles work when the negotiations might not necessarily be all money related?
Yeah, that's a great point, Bobby. You know, we talk about budget and we talk about stuff like that. A lot of times we put zeros on it. Even the dollar bill game, we use money because it's easy to keep score with money. But the 3 Ps and the principles of the dollar bill game will work whether you're negotiating over dollars, whether you're negotiating over access, whether you're negotiating over someone's time. Look, my office or your office. Do we want to meet on Zoom or on Teams? Every one of those is a little negotiation. Well, you know what? I want to use the tools each and every time so that it becomes baked in to my DNA.
Makes sense. All right. It looks like, unfortunately, we're out of time, Jeff. So, we're going to have people head over to the booth there to get a little additional information, see if they can mooch that $10 off you and get some books. But loved the session today. Fantastic information. It was loved the dollar bill game. Kind of, frankly, it was pretty neat. And I can confirm with everybody in the audience that you put them completely on the spot. No idea what to expect, or if you were going to put them under the microscope even more by asking people who they thought was going to win. That kind of increases the
Yeah.
and brings out the ego. Loved it. Loved the 4 negotiation principles, how they can be leveraged to reach a collaborative outcome, regardless of if it's money related. So again, thanks so much for joining us, Jeff, and Tomissa and Jen as well. Have a good rest of the day.